If budget is not an issue, I know exactly what gaming laptop I'm going to get. The gaming laptop that pretty much have everything with bells and whistles more than you can imagine. I'm talking about the ROG Zephyrus Duo 16. The ROG Zephyrus Duo 16 is targeted towards game streamers, hardcore gamers, developers, and content creators. It pretty much have what it takes to handle any kind of tasks from day-to-day productivity and work down to longer gaming sessions over the weekend. What I have here is the latest 2023 variant powered by an AMD Ryzen 9 7945HX processor with an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 graphics, a whopping 64GB of DDR5 RAM, and 4TB fast Gen 4 NVMe SSD. It also has dual display with the main 16-inch Quad HD Plus mini LED display with 240Hz refresh rate and up to 100% DCI-P3 color coverage, and a secondary 14-inch 4K multi-touch display with full stylus support and an intuitive user interface to support multiple use case scenarios. Aside from that, it also has all the essential input and output ports you'll ever need, including 2 power delivery options. It has a pretty good keyboard, a touchpad that also doubles as a numpad, full HD webcam with Windows Hello support, a total of 6 speakers with Dolby Atmos support, and a decent 90Wh battery with up to 330 watts power input. With the key specifications out of the way, let's get into it. As always, on this disclaimer, this video is sponsored by ROG to help spread the word that the 2023 variant of the ROG Zephyrus Duo 16 is now available here in the Philippines. So this video will not be a review, but essentially a features overview with some actual gameplay experience and testing. However, if you know me, you know that I'm not lazy when it comes to creating videos, so I will still provide you with pretty much everything you need to know about this top-of-the-line gaming laptop. I'll also put some timestamps below to make things easier for you. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's start with a quick parts overview. In terms of design and construction, the ROG Zephyrus Duo 16 is built really well with refined construction and tight tolerances. You wouldn't find much imperfections on this laptop. Every inch of it was made with precision and quality, partnered with an aesthetically pleasing yet minimalist design language. Gone were the days that gaming laptops of this caliber looked obnoxiously gamery. This one looks absolutely clean while maintaining the ROG flair we've known from the brand. Looking up top, we have a matte finish that surprisingly does a good job minimizing fingerprints and smudges. We also have the iconic ROG Eye logo, a Republic of Gamers logo, diagonally oriented in between, separating the 2 textures of the lid. Now, one clever design that I appreciated with this laptop is the cutout at the bottom of the lid that allows the LED indicators and speakers to be visible at all times, even when the lid is closed. And in a way, another avenue for airflow to pass through when the lid is open. Looking at the front side, considering how much hardware it has inside, it looks relatively thin for a gaming laptop. We also have a subtle lip and cutout at the center to help open the lid using just one hand, which you can definitely do by the way, even though it has a very strong hinge. Looking at the left side, we have one of the exhaust ventilations, the power port, one USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A port, one USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C port that also supports DisplayPort 1.4a, power delivery, and G-Sync. We also have a microSD card reader and a 3.5mm audio combo jack. Here's how it looks on the side when opening the lid, and as you can tell, the design engineering on this one is exceptionally impressive. More on this later. On the other side, we have another exhaust ventilation and a single USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C port that also supports DisplayPort 1.4a. Just look how smoothly the secondary display lifts up, so satisfying. Now we're not done yet when it comes to the input and output ports. At the back, we have an Ethernet port, a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A port, and an HDMI 2.1 port. We also have 2 exhaust ventilation on both sides. Flipping it at the bottom, we have some interesting designs here. Aside from the stereo speakers on both sides that actually fire in 2 directions, one towards the bottom and one towards the laptop surface, we also have a couple of ventilations for the 2 cooling fans, a ventilation strip right at the center, and some triangular shaped rubber feet that supposedly is more stable than the traditional shapes. Finally, opening the lid is pretty easy using just one hand. Sometimes the front side lifts up a bit, but overall, I'm happy that you can open it using just one hand given the dual display design. Speaking of the dual display, let's just take a minute and check out the hinge design. Now, this is not my first time to try a Zephyrus Duo laptop. In fact, I also reviewed the 2021 variant of this, and I'm still mesmerized by how cool this hinge design is. In my opinion, this hinge design accomplishes at least 3 things. It allows for a seamless integration between the 2 displays in such a way that when looking at a normal viewing angle, you will barely see a gap between the two, making the bottom bezel thinner than it actually is and making the overall dual display integration more fluid. It also allows for ample space underneath for the dual fan system to gather a good amount of airflow. And lastly, of course, it allows the secondary display to pop up at the right viewing angle without getting in the way of normal laptop usage. The construction of the Hinge design feels robust and gives that confidence that it'll last maybe even after the laptop's lifespan. Well, of course, providing that you keep things away from it, especially your fingers. Now, in terms of the peripherals, we have a pretty good keyboard here, probably one of the best laptop keyboards that I've tried in a while. It features a typical laptop keyboard layout with crumbed arrow keys and smaller function rows up top, but other than that, it feels really nice. It offers a substantial 1.7mm travel distance with decent tactile feedback. It's relatively quiet as well, and of course, supports perky RGB and Aura Sync integration. Aside from that, it also offers various shortcuts for things like turning the second display on and off, launching the Armoury software, switching between performance modes, and more. It even has a dedicated power button, though honestly, I would have preferred if it is away from the keyboard instead. Now, to give way for the secondary display, the trackpad has to move to the right side of the keyboard, which may require a little bit of getting used to, but nevertheless, it's accurate, provides a decent amount of tactile feedback, and is very smooth thanks to the glass surface. Not to mention, it doubles as a numpad as well, which is a very good use of space. Another thing that I appreciate about the design of the ROG Zephyrus Duo 16 is this little detail. As you can tell, ROG has made a conscious effort to add an aesthetically pleasing design on the gap that the secondary display creates by adding a clear window that shows the black PCB underneath, adding to the overall premium vibe of this flagship gaming laptop. Speaking of the secondary display, let's talk about it. Now, there are a ton of things that you can possibly do with this display, but I'll tackle just the out-of-the-box experience so that you can have a bit of an idea without getting too overwhelmed. First, like I said, you can turn it on and off using the shortcut on the keyboard, either to save battery life or if you simply don't want to use it. Right here, we have a sort of floating button for opening the integrated shortcuts and settings bar. Inside the settings, you can set basic things like brightness, resolution, wallpaper, and custom scaling. You can also customize the shortcuts for the command center, more on that later. You can also enable and disable certain Windows control settings here. You also have miscellaneous settings like power saving, about, announcements, and others. Aside from that, we also have a bunch of integrated features here that you can take advantage of. We have the quick key, which gives you a bunch of typical key combinations, and you can also create your own depending on your desired workflow. We also have handwriting, where you can scribble if you're into handwriting. We also have calculator if in case the integrated numpad is not enough for you. But I think the best feature here is the ASUS control panel, which gives you some quick access control for supported applications like what I have here for Photoshop without installing a third-party application. This makes the secondary display really useful rather than just being an auxiliary display. Aside from that, we also have shortcuts for opening the system settings and the Armoury software. Now, when dragging a window, you'll be presented with a number of options to organize your windows and applications. Of course, you can also use the built-in window snapping feature, and you can also use the app navigator via the secondary display settings. You can just pick which one is easier for you. Aside from that, we also have an app switcher here for moving the window from the main to the secondary display and vice versa, instead of dragging the window manually. We also have a shortcut here for showing the desktop on the secondary display, which is very convenient. Oh yeah, you can also use the entire secondary display as a touchpad by tapping 3 fingers on it. We also have shortcuts here for enabling and disabling the mouse, keyboard, and the microphone. The mouse option in particular is very handy if you want to keep your mouse cursor just for the main display. This is ideal for gaming. The secondary display features a 14-inch multi-touch 4K UHD IPS panel with up to 100% sRGB color coverage and has Corning Gorilla Glass DXC and AF coating for better clarity. We'll talk more about its display quality later, but for now, let's move up to the main display first. The main display, on the other hand, features a 16-inch Quad HD Plus mini LED display with 240Hz refresh rate and up to 100% DCI-P3 color coverage. As you can tell, the bezels are relatively thin, and as I pointed out earlier, even the bottom bezel looks thin thanks to the Hinge design. At the top center, we have the Full HD webcam, an IR camera with Windows Hello support, and the microphone array. In terms of the panel, even though this is not an OLED panel, Mini LED is, in my opinion, the next best thing, and probably a safer option too when it comes to longevity. It can still provide deep blacks and high brightness thanks to its 1024 dimming zones. It is also VESA Display HDR 1000 certified since it can reach up to 1100 nits peak brightness. It also supports Dolby Vision and FreeSync Premium Pro and is Pantone validated with top Rhineland for low blue light certification. Did I already mention up to 240Hz refresh rate with a decent 3 millisecond response time? Yeah, that. So as you can tell, display specifications and features wise, we've got one of the best here. Of course, we're not just gonna rely on the product page and marketing materials. So as per testing, using my Data Color Spider X color calibration tool, the main display of the variant that I have here covers at least 100% sRGB, 89% NTSC, 91% Adobe RGB, and 98% P3 color space, right around the specifications. It can also output brightness levels from 110.1 nits at 0% up to 874.1 nits at 100%. The secondary display is pretty good too. It covers at least 98% sRGB, 71% NTSC, 76% Adobe RGB, and 76% P3. For an auxiliary display, this is pretty decent. It can also output brightness levels from 13.9 nits at 0% to a decent 362.4 nits at max. This is more than enough for its intended purpose. The display quality of these two displays is outstanding, especially the primary display. One of the best that I've tried in a gaming laptop. The image quality is really good with vibrant colors, deep blacks, crispy details, and good viewing angles. As you can tell, you can even distinguish the black part of the video with a border thanks to its mini LED panel that is on par or at least close enough to what you might expect from an OLED panel, but without the risk of burn-in. The brightness levels of this monitor are more than enough, especially for indoor use. I rarely had to put it at max when indoors. Also, the viewing angles are really superb. Overall, nothing much to complain about display quality wise. Same with the secondary display. It's even good enough for multimedia consumption. Let's say you're doing something on the primary display but still want to listen to music and quickly glance at the video. You can do so with this without compromising much in quality. Yes, it is smaller, but hey, at least it looks good too. I can see myself doing this as I've done this exact setup with an iPad below my monitor before. In terms of the speaker, we have 4 speaker units here, but essentially, we have up to 6 sound outputs since the 2 speakers inside output sound in 2 directions, towards the bottom and towards the laptop surface, plus another 2 at the back of the laptop for an overall wider soundstage and an immersive audio experience thanks to Dolby Atmos support. Here's a quick sound test for you guys.
Hands wrapped, knuckles taped black. Pick my gloves up off the mat. Fighting's all I ever had. Wasn't born with tons of gifts. Had to work hard as a kid. Know that everything I did was to catch the other kids. Slowly built that self-esteem. Turned myself to a machine. I'd compete so I'd be seen. I would lose it.
Now, before we move on to some gaming performance, let's take a quick look at the Armoury Crate software so that you can have a good understanding of what settings you have to take full advantage of all the powerful hardware inside. Inside the Armoury Crate software, we have system stats like CPU, memory and GPU usage, frequencies, and temperature. You can also take a quick peek at the RAM and storage capacity and monitor fan speeds. We also have a bunch of features here that you can enable and disable, but most importantly, this is where you can choose between different GPU modes and performance modes. Under the GPU mode options, you can take full advantage of the discrete GPU with direct access for the best performance and with the lowest input lag since it doesn't have to go through the integrated graphics. And if you want a less aggressive battery saving option, you can also use the MS Hybrid mode, which automatically switches between the dedicated and integrated graphics depending on the application demand. You can also switch performance modes here between the standard Windows mode, silent, performance, turbo, and manual. It's worth noting though that the turbo mode is only available when the laptop is plugged in and provides the best performance possible without much tinkering, unlike the manual mode. Again, you can access all this by pressing the dedicated shortcut button to launch the Armoury Crate software. Now, even though this is not a full review, let me share with you some of my experience gaming on this top-of-the-line gaming laptop. One of the things that I expect with this kind of specifications is that I should be able to crank up the settings to max and just focus on gaming, and for the most part, I was able to do that here. In Cyberpunk 2077, for example, all I had to do was set the quick preset to Ray Tracing Ultra, DLSS to balance, and turn off motion blur, and I was all set. With this setting, I got an average FPS of 78.47, which considering that we set it at Ray Tracing Ultra is pretty good. In Night City, with a lot of things going on and people and vehicles moving around, I got around 60 plus FPS, but in some less dense areas, I'm getting around 70 plus FPS. And ultimately, the gaming experience here is outstanding. The graphics quality is absolutely amazing with a pretty smooth gameplay experience. If you want the best gaming experience on a laptop, this is the way to go. It's kinda loud though, especially in turbo mode, but that's to be expected to sustain the performance and keep things relatively cool. Speaking of that, here's a quick fan sound test with both CPU and GPU fans at max. Take note that this is the worst case scenario. Not all times you'll have both at max, but for the purpose of this test, here you go. Now, it's kinda rare to experience God of War at ultra settings in native resolution without the aid of any upscaling technology while still getting above 100 plus FPS, and it's amazing to see. The graphics quality here, even for an older game, is just eye candy. At first, I had a little bit of doubt if I could play Hogwarts Legacy at maximum settings with this laptop since I know how heavy this game is, but I'm delighted to say that the experience is almost second to none compared to any device that I've used in the past. All I have to do here was set it at its native resolution, turn off motion blur, and set the global quality preset to ultra, and I'm good to go. Without using any upscaling at native resolution, we're getting around 80 plus FPS, which is really nice. And with DLSS quality, we're getting around 120 plus FPS, which I think is the better option here, maximizing the performance and graphics without much heat on the image quality. I also tested this on the recently launched Counter-Strike 2, and to no surprise, we're getting above 200 FPS here at very high settings, and I must say, I can confidently game on this even in competitive matches. The refresh rate and response times are good enough that I don't particularly notice any significant ghosting or smearing or any sort of noticeable delay. Everything feels smooth and responsive. And lastly, in Valorant, in essentially the maximum settings, I'm getting over 400 plus FPS, which is more than enough even for this laptop's display maximum refresh rate. And like with my experience in Counter-Strike 2, I'm confident enough to game on this even in competitive mode. However, I would highly suggest using the included wrist rest or using an external keyboard for a more comfortable experience, especially for longer gaming sessions. By the way, we also have the game library inside the Armoury Create software, where you'll see all your installed games regardless of which platform you installed them, much like what we have on the ROG Ally. Overall, gaming on this laptop is amazing. I don't have to worry about anything else other than my skill. The Zephyrus Duo 16 pretty much got everything in check in terms of features and performance. Lastly, in terms of the unboxing experience, we have a huge box right here with the specific variant details on the side. Inside it, we have a bunch of accessories. We have the main laptop box, the box for the power adapter, a gaming headset, a laptop bag, and a wrist rest. Inside the power adapter box, we have a compact and portable 100 watts USB Type-C power brick and the massive main 330 watts power adapter with their respective power cables. Now, depending on your region, you may get the ROG Fusion 2 300 gaming headset, an ROG Gladius 3 gaming mouse, an ROG Ranger gaming backpack, and a silicone wrist rest. The ROG Ranger gaming backpack is a really nice bonus. It is made out of quality materials with a good amount of padding, straps, and pockets. Now, the main laptop box offers a very good unboxing experience with a pop-up type design. Aside from it being nicely protected with a couple of styrofoams, it also opens up, raising the laptop in a nice presentable way. Underneath the laptop, we even have a magnetic foldable stand for an additional angle and height. We also have another box that houses the warranty guide, the user manual, and a support guide. Overall, the unboxing experience is what you deserve for a top-of-the-line gaming laptop like this. Alright, so to conclude, as I pointed out earlier, if budget is not an issue, the ROG Zephyrus Duo 16 is easily one of the best gaming laptops that you can get right now. It simply has all the hardware specifications that you need to play at the highest level with amazing graphics quality. It even has a ton of bells and whistles to not only get that competitive advantage on the go, but also has a lot of features targeted towards productivity and multitasking, all in a very sleek, minimal, and still relatively portable form factor. And there you have it, guys. Thank you for watching. Huge thanks to ROG Philippines for letting me experience the ROG Zephyrus Duo 16 and for sponsoring this video. I'll put some links below if you're interested. Now, if you're looking for something more portable than this, go check out my video about the ROG Ally Z1 by clicking this. Thank you for watching, subscribe if you appreciate this video, and see you next time. Have a great day, guys. You're awesome.